Hello, this is Larry Wagner with the Leave the Key Real Estate Show. I'm here today with my son, Ben. We've had the good fortune of working together for just over 2 years and hope this is the beginning of a long-term business relationship on top of our 31-year relationship. Anyway, Ben, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about you?
Yeah, so I'm 31 years old. I went to school up in Boston, and I spent the last 12 years in Boston working in the tech industry in marketing and product management, real technical-oriented roles.
The exact opposite of my expertise.
Yeah, exactly. And I've always been interested in real estate. I tried to convince you to buy some real estate while I was up in Boston in college. The college rental market is really hot up there.
I missed that opportunity.
Yeah, it didn't even dip in the downturn. It would have been a good investment, looking back to 2020. But I've always kind of viewed real estate as a great way to build wealth and preserve wealth. So it's always been interesting to me from that standpoint. I took some classes in college about real estate, but I guess I never had a plan of joining you, number one, or I guess making real estate my full-time thing as it is now.
It wasn't easy for me to convince you to come down here, was it?
No, I had a good thing going in Boston, good job working at a startup company, and I moved down to Boston, kind of changed my whole life, had to convince my girlfriend to move down here and, to start working with you and doing something very different than I was doing before.
Right. Ben wanted to work remotely from Boston for our company, and I said, there's no way that could work. And then he's here 2 years or a year and 3/4 or whatever, and Corona hits. And what did you prove to me, Ben?
Yeah, I haven't been to the office in 6 months. I live in Manhattan, so, I'm in real estate. I'm not the one who goes to the houses, so my role's really kind of behind the scenes. I do a lot of our operations, our marketing, our finance, and overall kind of the organization structure around the business. So I've kind of been... I've worked with a lot of different remote teams before Corona in other roles, and I was a firm believer that this is something that we could do even in the real estate industry, which is something that's so obviously focused on, being in person and real tangible things. Right. But I know one of the first employees we hired after I came on was the person in a basically inside sales or lead manager capacity, Rudy. And we were looking to hire someone for this role, and he applied from Missouri. Mm-hmm. And, I had to convince you and Jamel that we could work, just as effectively with someone who doesn't come to the office every day. And
if someone reaches us at leavethekey.com and leaves their phone number or contact information, the person's going to contact them is Rudy. Whether he's remote or in our office doesn't really seem to matter, since quite frankly, we're all remote right now. One last comment is, and that's I spent 30 years working with my father in the financial industry, so hopefully we can continue our trek for another 30 years or another 28 years with Ben. Anyway, so Ben, I'd like to today discuss about the process of how we work at Leave the Key. When somebody finds us, goes on a website, maybe receives a postcard from us and goes on the website, what happens after that?
Yeah, so basically the first thing starts with some sort of inquiry, right? You're either going to contact us on the website, you're going to just call us on the phone, but whether you contact us on the website or call us, you're going to get a call back or just going to be speaking with, like we said, Rudy, someone from our team who's basically an expert in kind of understanding your situation, the details around your property, why you're looking to sell. Really designed to answer all the questions up front. And
Rudy, like me, I spend a lot of time with the sellers, with the homeowners, trying to understand their problems beyond the real estate. And Rudy tries to vet that out as well. Yeah, we approach things very differently as a company. There's a core problem that's causing you to call us.
Exactly. And I think we've gotten people that tell us, after it could be a very quick conversation, right? For some people, it's here's my address. Let me know what you're going to offer me. But we try to kind of get to the root of why, like you said, and maybe just a straight offer isn't the best solution for you. So we really want to understand If you're contacting us to sell a home, why is it you're looking to sell that home?
And sell it to somebody like us, a cash buyer, a fast buyer, something like that, not just conventional real estate agent.
Exactly. So during that conversation, it could be as long as you want it to be. Some people, again, it could be a short conversation, and other people will spill their entire lives. And quite frankly, the people who are able and willing to give us more are able to benefit more from that.
Absolutely. It's so obvious. The more we know, the more we can help.
Exactly.
And so the process, so after they speak to Rudy, which can be actually by phone or by email, is it?
Yep.
And I know by text. So it doesn't have to be, some people are just not comfortable on the phone, and some people aren't comfortable by text. So you have three choices. And then what happens after that?
Yeah, and I guess, so one thing to add is that, right, there's no commitment or obligation or anything around that conversation. So the end product of that conversation is we typically will set up an appointment to view the house if possible. We also buy houses without viewing them if we can get some photos or something like that. But typically we'll go to the house, meet the owner, or if it may be tenant occupied or something like that. But we'll then basically after that first phone call just set up that appointment to meet you, learn more, again, continue to discuss that situation, view the property, and then we kind of work with you, and that's really where you come in, right?
That's where I come. That's when I come meet you, and I continue what Rudy started, going over again, reviewing what I know, maybe digging a little deeper, because when you're face to face with someone, it tends to be a more in-depth conversation. And once we do that, then I get a handle on what is that we're trying to accomplish. And at that point, I could sometimes make an offer right on the spot, because I come with my homework already done. We know what your house is worth generically. Then it's a matter of me then making the valuation unique to your house, in excellent condition, poor condition, very good but dated condition, and so on. And also, do you really need to sell the house? And if so, do you need to sell it for cash? Is that really your best option? And that's really the second part of what we do. So the first part is speaking with Rudy, and the second part is then meeting with me.
Right. And in between those, we have some time to do some homework. So that way we show up to that appointment prepared. So we know, the type of house. We may have a rough idea of the condition of the property, but it allows us to kind of go back, do some research about, similar sales in the area and stuff like that. So that way when we do come up to meet you in person, we're ready to basically make you an offer.
When appropriate.
Yeah.
When appropriate. And again, we refer to ourselves as a real estate solutions company, as I say all the time, which means we're trying to find a solution for you, which more often than not involves selling your house, just a straight sale. But oftentimes it involves many other options. It could be maybe taking back a mortgage, that basically you finance the house for us, where that way we can afford to pay you a bigger price for the house. If you have no need for the cash, you just need to sell the house. Other times you need to pay off debt with some of the money. We'll do some hybrid kind of offer. And there's all different ways to handle the sale of the house, And that's what makes this job so interesting, is we see customer after customer, homeowner after homeowner, day after day, and every scenario is different. I've never encountered two people that are the same. You have overlap from family to family, but no two situations have ever been the same. I can see three people who inherit houses, and there'll be three very different stories. And that's something we talk about in most of our shows, some examples of those kind of stories. And I think they're very interesting, because they could be you or me. And some of the stories are happy stories, and some are a little less happy stories. But the process is really straightforward and very simple. And about the real estate business in New York and how it differs from much of the rest of the country, and some of the things we have to deal with here. New York is an attorney state, which means whenever you do a real estate closing, meaning a sale, you have to use an attorney for the closing, where I'm guessing about 40 other states or so, if I were just to estimate, do not require attorneys, and you just go through the title company. In New York, you need an attorney and a title company. Ben, do you have any comments you want to make on that?
Yeah, I think we joined a networking group with a bunch of investors from all over the country, and it was pretty eye-opening for us to see how different I think real estate was in other states. We kind of take it for granted. You grew up in New York, I grew up in New York, and it's kind of all we ever knew.
Right.
But the speed of transactions in other states, and they don't have attorneys involved in the transactions. Everything's managed by the title company. There's so many things that are different, right. Which kind of affects the flow and the way a transaction really goes down in New York. Right. That's very different.
In other states, when I show up to your house and we discuss an arrangement, if you like it, you can actually sign a contract right there. In New York, that can take a minimum of a week before your attorney writes a contract, my attorney gets it, I sell it, send it back to your attorney, you sell it. It's just another week, 2 weeks before the process even begins. That's the first place to slow it down. Any other thoughts on the attorney portion of that?
Yeah, so the contract is one piece. In New York, it could take weeks right. To get into contract, right? We agree on a price, and the way it works is that the seller then contacts their attorney to tell them, hey, I want to sell my house. And they reach out to our attorney to coordinate everything. And there's just a lot of people in the mix. Yeah. And especially when you're dealing with a real estate agent, there's even more people in the mix. We try to slim it down by being, the direct end buyer. Right. But there's still at least the seller, the buyer, and two attorneys.
Absolutely. Also, the fees become much more expensive. Since you're buying with an attorney, you're paying the attorney fees on top of that, which doesn't help. And filing fees in New York do get expensive. We typically pick up many of the filing fees when we buy a house. So that's a big help when you're dealing with an investor. So everything takes longer, including the permit process. I mean, that's more my end of the business, since I work in the sales and the construction end. And getting permits, I was speaking to somebody in our group from Atlanta, a big city. She said on day 5, if she doesn't receive a permit by day 5, she goes down to the building department screaming to the supervisor, why are that person's people so incompetent? Why is it taking 5 days? With us, we'd be thrilled if it were 5 weeks. It's typically 3 months, 4 months, 6 months to get permits. So it's a whole different animal up here. So we have to realize the environment in which we live. Also, housing prices are very high here. I mean, you've heard stories in our group what people pay for houses. And
yeah, I mean, people flipping these houses are flipping houses. They could buy them for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. They put $10,000 into them and sell them for $75,000. Right. And these are numbers that we don't understand. In New York, we can't do a bathroom for $10,000. I mean, right. It's a whole different world, outside of New York, and especially outside of Long Island.
But we have Manhattan close by, we have beaches close by, we have very good schools here on Long Island. So I guess we take the good with the bad, which is why we live here. But so the housing price, the rehab costs are very high as well, because labor is very expensive down here. The median household income on Long Island is about $108,000. With the median income in the rest of the country, I believe, is about $65,000, so about 40% higher, about 60% higher than the rest of the country, and that translates into labor when you do construction on a house. These are all things we have to factor in when we do buy people's houses. The reason we bring it up, this is important. If we're going to sit in a house for 4 months before we get permits, so we can start doing renovation, that has to be built into the price. Whether you're selling a house to an end user or not, they have to factor that in if they need to renovate a house. Also, rentals in New York are very tough. Eviction rules are tough. We don't like to ever evict anybody, but sometimes you just have no choice. But it could take a year to evict someone, minimum of a few months. Rest of the country, 3 days, 7 days, 2 weeks, a month. I mean, that's a long time. So it's a whole different world up here.
Yeah, and on the rental side, it's tough in New York, especially again Long Island. It's really tough to have rentals that are profitable, that make sense financially. Yeah. With taxes being so high, the lowest taxes you're going to find pretty much anywhere on Long Island are in the $5,000 to $6,000 range.
I was going to say that $5,000,
and it's typically double that.
Typically double that.
So it's really tough. You're talking about you have to pay $1,000 a month in taxes to live most anywhere on Long Island.
Absolutely.
And for a landlord to be able to factor that into their rent and be able to pay off a mortgage, again, when the house prices are so high, high twos, $400,000, there's a very limited market for rentals on Long Island, which is why you don't see too many of them.
But now with all this good news we're just telling you about the real estate market on Long Island, There are ways to get involved in real estate yourself that you can get involved the way we do, and you're hearing the pitfalls and so on, but there's other ways to get involved as well. If you wish to get involved in real estate, we can show you many different ways, and those ways can include something as simple as driving for dollars. Driving for dollars is where, on your daily routine, if you see a house that looks like it's in distress, very tall lawn, very tall grass in the front lawn, unkept bushes, a roof that's covered in a tarp, broken windows with a board on them, covered with plywood. Obviously, the house just in general disrepair.
Old cars, old boats.
Old cars, old boats. I was going to say old cars. I didn't think of old boats. Correct. Write down the address and you reach out to us. Again, you can get our contact information at leavethekey.com. That's leavethekey.com. And you can reach out to Rudy, send us an email, and if we end up buying that house, we'll give you, I think depending on the house, I can give up to $1,000. So that's something you can make money with, really no risk, no time out of your own day. Another thing we do is we can teach you how to generate passive income where you literally have to do nothing. And that means you could become a lender. In our industry, we all borrow money. We have plenty of our own money we use, but there's times that we have to close very quickly. So we try to save our money whenever we can for those very fast close deals. We have to close a house in 10 days. I'm not going to start reaching out to people and raise money for a close in 10 days. We'll use our money. So we'll borrow money just to make sure we always keep a very large stockpile of our own. And typically can pay 6% interest on that money, and it's typically what we're finding in the industry. Lenders will borrow money from people, like you listening right now. And if you're getting 0.5% or 1% in the bank, this could be 6 to 12%, more than 6 to 12 times more than you're getting in the bank. So that's something. Give us a call. We'll teach you how to find investors with whom you can do work like this. Just keep something in mind. The higher the risk, the higher the rate. The lower the risk, the lower the rate. And there's a few ways to determine risk on something as a lender, which is important for you to know. And one is you want to know the experience of the person with whom you're lending money. If that's the person's first house, that becomes problematic. You're going to charge a much higher rate of interest, but again, you hope that he'll be successful. If you reach out someone like us, you can get a low rate of interest, honestly, but people like us who have flipped hundreds of houses, you have a much lower level of risk. Also, we have deeper pockets. A successful flipper would never let anybody not get paid. Even if the deal went south, they would pay their investor 100% plus all their interest. So that's something else that you really need to learn about. And the last thing, if you want to get involved in learning how to fix and flip houses like we do, we're more than happy to teach people. Some people just get and find us houses. Some people lend money, and some people want to learn to do the business we're in. We feel it's a world of abundance. There's plenty of houses out there. And we're very, very happy to share our knowledge with anybody who wants to reach out to us and call us. Sometimes we'll do joint venture deals where you can find something, we'll work on it together and share the profits. It's a great way for you to learn. And so reach out to us again at leavethekey.com to find out more information, or again, to reach out to us and we'll call you right back. Then the last few seconds, you've been happy with your decision to move down to Long Island?
No, very happy. Yeah, it's great working with you, except when you ask me all these computer questions.
Very good. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you very much.
Now everything is easy 'cause of you.